Let me be crystal clear. You are running out of time. If you don't fix or correct these things by the age of 40, you're gonna live a very hard rest of your life. All right, you're not gonna feel good, you're not gonna look good, you're gonna be broke, you're gonna be unhappy, and unfortunately, life is gonna be harder than it has to. All right, I am sick and tired of looking out there at some of you guys that are starting to get older and you're not paying attention to the things that are going to truly move the needle and matter the most. Today, guys, I'm talking about the 10 things that you need to get under control by the age of 40. One is get your money right. Get your finances straight, gentlemen. By the age of 40, if you have mounting credit card debt, this is something that's not going to get better. If you don't have your spending under control by the age of 40, you're kind of fucked. If you don't have enough money coming in, this is also something you got to start thinking about. By 40 years old, you should have a pretty good idea of how you're going to basically make enough money to eventually retire. All right, what I'd recommend is start with $10,000. If you don't have $10,000 in your bank account, that is something that you should be striving and shooting for this year. You also need to make sure your credit cards are zeroed out. And I'm not talking about like, oh, what about a house? That's fine. A car, okay. But the less debt you have, the better off financially you're gonna be. And by the age of 40, if you have a lot of debt, you're going to literally spend the next 10, 20, 30 years trying to dig out of it. You've got to get it under control. You don't need all the things that you want. Number 2 is dress like a man, stop dressing like a boy. By the age of 40, your style better be straight. You can't dress like you did when you were 12 or 16. You've got to upgrade and elevate your aesthetic. And yes, you need to pay attention to it. Dressing well is one of the easiest things that you can do to be well respected, not to mention just show that you respect yourself, because truly that's what dressing well does. You've got to clean out the clutter. You've got to stop dressing and wearing clothes that are too big, too baggy, too worn out, too old. Go through your wardrobe, get rid of the stuff that you don't wear, that you don't like. Go shopping for key essential pieces that are going to make you feel like the man. If you put it on and you don't look good or you don't feel good, don't wear it. Number 3 is fitness. At 40 years old, if you don't have like a routine that you are sticking to, you're screwed. Real talk. You're gonna get man boobs, you're gonna get love handles, your testosterone level is gonna continue to decrease, because that's the other thing you gotta understand. Your muscle, your testosterone is starting to shrink unless you do everything in your power in order to stop it, which includes lifting heavy shit. Don't fuck around with like, I'm just lifting like 10s for reps of like 50. Screw that. Lift heavy shit. The 3 big lifts, bench press, squats, deadlifts, do those. You can also do the sexy mirror muscles like bicep curls, right? Other things like tricep push downs and abs, of course, you want those. But the fact is, lift heavy. It's going to release testosterone. It's also just going to basically help you preserve your muscle mass. You need muscle, but you also need flexibility, and you also need to make sure that those heart and lungs are straight, which means you also need to be doing cardio. In my opinion, every single day you should be exercising with weights at least 3 days a week, possibly 4. Cardio every day. Number 4 is your diet. Follow me. At 40 years old, you have better have your diet straight, all right? You gotta stop eating like a little kid, honestly, because as you start to get a little bit older, a few things are gonna happen. Number 1, your metabolism's gonna give you the finger like it did me, right? When I was in my 20s, I was like, yo, I can eat pretty much whatever I want and I'm good, right? 30s, I was like, well, I gotta pay attention a little bit more, but 40 hit and I'm like, yo, oh my God, I gotta really watch out, right? Few tips I'd like to give you is don't eat out, right? The more you can limit the amount you eat out, whether or not it's for lunch, at work, or on the weekends or at nights, the better off you're gonna be for a few reasons. Number 1, you don't know what is actually in the food that you're ordering, all right? You think, oh, I'm eating healthy because I'm getting chicken, or I'm doing this, or I'm doing that. Well, there's a lot of sneaky calories, not to mention sodium, sulfites, and like a lot of extra fat, all right? The other thing it's gonna do is save you money, right? Because eating out or doing like Uber Eats is not only like really bad for you, it's really bad for your wallet. All right, few tips I'd like to give you also is meal prep. The more you can prepare and plan your meals ahead of time, the better off you're gonna be. Prior planning prevents poor diet performance. The more you can plan and prepare, the better off you're gonna be. So for me, I will meal plan and prep once a week. I'll cook a bunch of meat on like Sunday. I'll cook some carbohydrates. I'll always have sweet potatoes ready to roll, pop in the microwave. For lunch, typically what I'm gonna do is factor, all right? You guys that are not really loving the whole like cooking thing, you're gonna love Factor, all right? So Factor is my obsession. I've been using them now for a few years and I absolutely love them, right? The fact is, they are chef-inspired, never frozen, always fresh meals that get delivered right to your door every single week. So the way that it works, you go to their website, which I will link to down below. There's also gonna be a limited time Alpha M discount code, which I'll tell you about in a second. You go there and you choose which type of meal you want. They've got a few different options to choose from. The one that I use is Calorie Smart. All of the meals are 550 calories or below. So I know that for lunch, I'm only gonna be consuming 550 calories and it's also gonna be delicious. Or you could go Chef's Choice, you could go Protein Plus, Vegan and Veggie. They've even got a Carb Smart option now that you guys are gonna love. Once you choose your meal plan, then you choose how many meals you want a week, all right? I go 6, but you could go 8, you could go 10, you could go 12, 14, or even 18. You place your order, and then Factor's gonna get delivered to your front door on ice. There are ice packs in the box, all right? And then all you do, you unbox it, you take your Factor meals out, pop them in the fridge, and then when you're ready, take one out, pop it in the microwave, literally 2 minutes, all right? I'm gonna eat because I'm starving. This week, I got a bunch of amazing ones, but what I'm going with today is the chicken and mushroom challah rice risotto. The calories, 490. Few of the reasons why you are absolutely gonna love Factor as much as I do. Number one, it's gonna save you time. You don't have to go to the grocery store and like go shop around, get all the ingredients, bring it home, you know, cook it, and then like throw out whatever you don't use. It's gonna save you money because you don't have to worry about ordering Uber Eats, which is super expensive. All the Factor meals are super affordable and they are absolutely delicious. And there's a huge variety. Like every week you got like 30 different options to choose from. The other thing that I love is flexibility, right? Factor is incredibly flexible. If you want to change your plan, that's fine. If you want to pause it, no problem. And the other thing, like I said, they're delicious. That is the most important thing. Check it out, gentlemen. Chicken and mushroom challah rice risotto with roasted green beans, all right? The moment of truth. Oh my God. Oh my God. It is so, it is so creamy. Gentlemen, you can't even tell that it's like cauliflower. The calories on this are 490. There's only like 23 carbohydrates, tons of protein. White meat chicken, gentlemen. Here's the deal. Guys, if you're ready to finally take control of your diet and start eating better, healthier, cleaner, amazing foods that taste great, but are gonna still be healthy for you, guys, I've got a special link down below. Go to factor75.com or click that link in the description. Use the discount code 50ALPHAM to get 50% off plus free shipping off your first Factor box. That's code 50ALPHAM at factor75.com for 50% off your first box plus free shipping. Number 5, stop doing self-destructive things. This includes binge drinking. This includes sleeping with people you shouldn't be sleeping with. This also includes any type of recreational drugs. By 40 years old, I'm just throwing it out there. You're a man. Not like a little boy, man. You're a man. 40 years old. You're closer to 50 than you are 20. Just throwing it out there. You gotta stop acting like the little boy that you were when you were 20. You gotta start growing up. And it starts with you being more responsible. All right? Because even though maybe your friends haven't grown up yet, you've gotta be the one that takes action. Which brings me to number 6. And that is you gotta cut toxic people out of your life. If there are people in your life that aren't good for you, whether or not it's a relationship with a person that you're like dating or a spouse, I'm just being honest. If you're with somebody that is bad for you, you've got to be honest with yourself. At 40 years old, this is kind of like the point at which you start looking at your life and the people that are around you. All right? If you're going to continue to hang out or be around people that are toxic or not good for you or holding you back, it's not going to help you as you move closer to 50, 60, 70. It's actually going to prevent you from being happy, healthy, and feeling good about yourself. You've got to put it in perspective. It's okay to outgrow people. By 40, you should have outgrown some. Number 7 is your mind. By 40 years old, you better start dealing with the shit that you need to deal with. All right, all the past trauma that you've had, got to get it under control. It doesn't mean it ever goes away, but you've got to deal with it. If it means going to therapy, go to therapy. If it means having hard conversations with people that you should have had these hard conversations with, have them. The reason is you're worth it. If you don't, Like, you're not ever going to be happy. You're never going to be free. You're always going to allow the baggage and the trauma of your past to come with you. It's not only going to affect you, it's going to affect like future relationships. You've got to let it go. By 40, it's time to figure out a way. Number 8, routine. By 40 years old, you better have a routine. Meaning, you know what you're doing when you wake up. You're waking up at the same time pretty much every day. You're doing the same things every day. Going to bed at a reasonable time. You're getting over that whole like FOMO, fear of missing out. You're not staying up super late. You're prioritizing sleep. All right? You've got to make sure if you are wanting to be as successful and happy and healthy as possible, it really starts with the routine. You've got to basically reverse engineer your perfect day. Boring. By 40 years old, you should be starting to be boring, all right? The next thing, number 9, is your relationship. All right, by 40 years old, you got to kind of make some hard calls, right? Do you want children? If so, now's kind of the time to get serious. Have you had Peter Pan syndrome, not wanting to settle down? Why is that? Now, the one thing I just want to unpack for a second is you don't need to have a relationship. You also don't need to get married. You don't need to date anybody. Like, if you want to be single, be single. But by 40 years old, you kind of need to choose a direction and a path because the biological clocks are ticking. By 40 years old, you got to start kind of making a decision and a plan as to where you want your life to go. Because when you think about it, at 40 years old, if you have a kid now at 40, right, when your kid's 20, you're going to be 60, right? If you're 45, you're going to be 65 when that kid's 20. And so 40 years old, like, it's kind of like shit or get off the pot when it comes to children, but you could always adopt, and if you don't want to have children, don't let anybody talk you into it. It's a personal decision that only you can make. And last but certainly not least, number 10, by 40 years old, you should know what you want or what you don't want. By 40 years old, this is the time when you need to start living for yourself. When you're younger, a lot of times you do what is expected as opposed to what's kind of in your heart. And now a lot of things are designed that way on purpose. Like when you're a little kid, your parents are telling you, yo, Jimmy, go to bed, go to school, eat this, don't eat that, don't hang out with her, don't go out with that spicy senorita. Becky, she's only going to break your heart, right? When you're young, like, that's fine. You do what is expected as opposed to what you want. But as you start to age and mature, you've got to be honest with yourself. If you don't want to be 45 or 50, having a midlife crisis, driving a Lambo, banging your secretary, Brenda, you've got to figure it out. It's time to be selfish. 40 years old is the time for you to be selfish. What do you want? Not what your parents want, not what your girl wants, not what your boy wants, you. It's your life, it's your choice. If you don't want to have some big catastrophe happen when you're older, like an identity crisis, or you leave your family, or do something crazy that's out of character, be honest with yourself. Do what's in your heart. Do not make excuses. Do not apologize. There's only one life. You're living it. Do not live it for somebody else. They all had their choice. It's time for you to make yours. 40 years old, it's time for you to finally grow up and figure it the fuck out.